My stepchildren said my authority sleeps on the couch. I tucked them into their rooms at their father's and slept like a king. Breakfast tasted different. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Reddit Visuals. You know what I've learned? The ugliest kind of betrayal doesn't come from enemies. It comes from people you've sacrificed everything for, only to have them look you in the eye and tell you that you mean absolutely nothing. I'm Nate, 42. I run a mid-sized carpentry business and fix things for a living. Floors, beams, roofs, broken furniture. I've always been the guy who steps in when something falls apart. I thought maybe that skill could stretch to broken families too. Boy, was I wrong about how that would play out. 4 years ago, I met Jennifer. Beautiful, funny, sharp as a tack. She worked in HR at a local firm, had this dry wit that clicked with mine instantly. We met at a friend's housewarming party and talked until 3 in the morning about everything. Books, terrible movies, and weird office stories. She was divorced with 2 kids, Aiden, 13, and Lily, 10. She was upfront about it. "We're a package deal," she said. I respected that honesty. I wasn't trying to be a hero or replace anyone. I just genuinely liked her and wanted to see where things could go. We dated for 8 months before I moved in with them. Their house became our house, or at least that's what I thought we were building. The kids were polite at first, shy but decent. Aiden was obsessed with skateboarding and video games. Lily was quieter, always drawing these elaborate fantasy creatures in notebooks. They said please and thank you. It wasn't instant love, but I figured real relationships take time to develop. What I didn't anticipate was how their father, Chris, had poisoned that well long before I ever showed up. See, Chris was the classic divorced dad who couldn't handle being the bad guy. He'd show up every other weekend like some sort of Disney parade, theme parks, expensive toys, junk food for dinner, no bedtimes, no rules. Meanwhile, I was the one making sure they did homework, ate vegetables, and learned basic life skills. Chris got to be the fun parent, while I got stuck being the responsible one. But here's the twisted part. Chris actively encouraged their disrespect toward me. I found this out later, but he'd been telling them things like, "You don't have to listen to him," and "He's not your real family." He was threatened by the stability I brought to their lives, so he systematically undermined me at every turn. The kids started small, eye rolls when I asked them to clean their rooms. "You're not my dad," became Aiden's favorite response to any request I made. Lily would deliberately ignore me when I spoke to her, then act sweet as pie the moment Jennifer walked in the room. Jennifer kept making excuses. "They're still adjusting," she'd say. "Chris fills their heads with nonsense on weekends. Just be patient." But patience has limits, and mine were being tested daily. Things escalated when I tried to establish basic household rules, like revolutionary concepts such as don't leave dirty dishes in your bedroom for 2 weeks, and maybe don't blast music at midnight on school nights. Aiden's response? He started calling me the warden in front of his friends. Lily would smirk and say things like, "make me," whenever I asked her to do literally anything. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night 3 months ago. I'd been working a brutal job, 14 hours installing hardwood floors for a client who kept changing his mind. My back was screaming, my hands were raw, and all I wanted was to come home to some semblance of peace. Instead, I walked into chaos. Aiden had friends over, without permission, and they'd completely trashed the living room. Pizza boxes everywhere, soda spilled on the carpet I'd installed myself, gaming controllers scattered like confetti. When I told his friends they needed to leave and Aiden needed to clean up, he looked me dead in the eye and said, "You don't get to tell me what to do. My mom pays the bills here, not you." His friends started snickering. One of them actually said, "Yeah, why should we listen to some random guy?" That's when Lily appeared in the doorway, arms crossed, wearing this satisfied smirk that I'll never forget. She said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Aiden's right. Your authority sleeps on the couch anyway." The entire room erupted in laughter. These 13 and 10-year-old kids were pointing and giggling at me like I was the punchline to some cruel joke. I stood there, a grown man who employs 12 people and runs a successful business, being publicly humiliated by children in my own home. But Lily wasn't done. She continued her little performance. "Mom only keeps you around because you fix stuff and pay for groceries. You're like a really expensive handyman who sleeps in her bed." The silence that followed was deafening. Even Aiden looked uncomfortable. He hadn't expected his little sister to take it that far. I looked around that room at the mess, at the smirking kids, at the complete lack of respect for me or my home, and something inside me just broke. Not in an explosive way, but in a cold, calculating way that was somehow much more dangerous. I walked over to where Aiden was sitting and said, very quietly, "Everyone out. Now." His friends scattered like roaches when you turn on a light, but Aiden stayed put, trying to call my bluff. "You can't make me." "Actually," I interrupted, "I can. This is my house too. I pay half the mortgage, half the utilities, and most of the food bills. So when I say get out, you get out." He finally left, slamming the door behind him. Lily had already disappeared to her room, probably realizing she'd pushed things too far. When Jennifer got home an hour later, she found me sitting at the kitchen table with a legal pad, making lists. "What's all this?" she asked. "I'm calculating exactly how much money I've spent on your children over the past 3.5 years, I said. "Food, clothes, school supplies, medical bills, entertainment, vacations, everything." She sat down across from me, suddenly looking nervous. "Nate, what happened tonight?" I told her. Everything. From Aiden's disrespect to Lily's public humiliation speech, to my sudden realization that I'd been playing the role of a provider without getting any of the respect that should come with it. Jennifer's response was disappointing. She said I was overreacting and that the kids were just being kids, and that I needed to understand their perspective. That's when I realized that Jennifer had been enabling this behavior all along. She was so desperate to keep the peace and avoid being the bad guy that she'd thrown me under the bus repeatedly, letting her children treat me like garbage rather than risk them being upset with her. I stood up from the table and said, "I'm done being patient. I'm done being understanding, and I'm definitely done being disrespected in my own home." "What does that mean?" she asked. "It means things are going to change, starting this weekend." Friday rolled around, and as usual, Chris was supposed to pick up the kids for his every other weekend custody time. But this time, I had a different plan. I spent Thursday night packing, not just overnight bags, everything, every piece of clothing, every toy, every gaming console, every school supply. I loaded it all into my truck and drove it over to Chris's apartment at 5 in the morning. His place was a disaster. Empty beer bottles, takeout containers, clothes everywhere. This was the environment that Aiden and Lily thought was so much better than our stable, clean home. Chris answered the door in his boxers, confused and hungover. "Nate? What the hell are you doing here?" "Delivering your kids' stuff," I said, carrying in the first load. "What do you mean?" "It's just a weekend." "Not anymore," I interrupted. "Congratulations, you're now the full-time parent." He followed me back and forth as I unloaded box after box of their belongings. "You can't just dump them on me. I work weekends. I have plans. I don't have room for all this stuff." "Figure it out," I said. "You've been telling them for years that they don't have to respect me because I'm not their real family. Well, now they get to see what life looks like with just their real family." When I got back home, I changed the locks. Not to keep the kids out permanently, but to make a point this was my house. And from now on, entry was a privilege, not a right. Jennifer came home that afternoon expecting to find Aiden and Lily getting ready for their weekend at Dad's. Instead, she found empty rooms and me sitting calmly at the kitchen table, reading a book. "Where are the kids?" she asked. "With their father," I replied without looking up. "Nate, what did you do?" I set down my book and looked at her. I gave them exactly what they wanted. They don't think I have any authority here? Fine. They think Chris is the better parent? Perfect. Now they get to test that theory full time. She started crying, asking how I could do this to her children, saying I was being cruel and vindictive. "Jennifer," I said, standing up, "your children told me to my face that I'm nothing more than a live-in handyman who pays bills. They laughed at me. They humiliated me in front of their friends. And instead of defending me or disciplining them, you told me I was overreacting." "But they're just kids. They're 13 and 10 years old, not toddlers. They know right from wrong. And if they don't, that's a parenting failure, not an age excuse. She left that night to stay at her sister's house, probably hoping I'd calm down and bring the kids back by morning. But I didn't bring them back. I slept in my own bed, spread out like a king. I woke up naturally instead of to the sound of video games or arguments. I made breakfast exactly the way I liked it. Coffee strong enough to wake the dead, eggs over easy, bacon crispy. And you know what? That breakfast tasted different. Not because the food was any better, but because I wasn't choking it down while being ignored and disrespected by people I'd been supporting for years. Day 2 came and went. Silence. Day 3, my phone started ringing. First call was from Chris. "Dude, you need to come get these kids." "Why?" I asked. "Because they're driving me insane. Aiden won't stop complaining about my apartment. Lily's been crying for 2 days straight. They keep asking when they can go home." "This is their home now," I said. "You're their father. Figure it out." "But I don't know how to... I work construction. I can't watch them during the day. And Lily needs help with her math homework." "Sounds like parenting," I interrupted. "Welcome to the last 4 years of my life." He hung up on me. Day 4, the texts started coming in. "Aiden, can you pick us up? Dad's place smells weird, and there's no food." "Lily, I'm sorry about what I said. Can we please come home?" I didn't respond to either of them. Day 5, Jennifer showed up at my door again. She looked terrible, hadn't slept, eyes red from crying. "Please," she said, "just bring them back." "We can work this out." "Can we?" I asked. "Because from where I'm standing, this is the first time in 4 years that anyone in your family has actually missed me or valued what I bring to the table." "That's not true." "Jennifer, your daughter told me I was just an expensive handyman who sleeps in your bed. Your son has been treating me like hired help for years, and you've been enabling it the entire time because you're too scared to be the bad guy." She was quiet for a long moment. Then, "What do you want me to say?" "I want you to admit that you failed to protect me from your children's abuse. I want you to acknowledge that I've been carrying this family financially and emotionally while being treated like garbage. And I want to know if you're actually willing to change things, or if you're just here because dealing with Chris full-time is inconvenient for you." Day 7, Chris called again. This time he sounded desperate. "Look, man, I can't do this. Aiden got in trouble at school because I forgot to sign a permission slip. Lily had a complete meltdown at the grocery store because I bought the wrong kind of cereal. I don't know how you do it." "Practice," I said, "and actually caring about their well-being instead of just wanting to be the fun parent." "I'm not cut out for this full-time dad thing," he admitted. "I thought I was, but they need structure, rules, someone who actually knows what they're doing." "Interesting," I said. "So you're saying they need a real parent? Someone who provides stability and discipline and guidance?" Long pause. "Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying." "Someone with authority?" Another pause. "Okay, I get your point." Day 8, all 3 of them showed up at my door. Jennifer, Aiden, and Lily, standing on my porch like refugees from their own bad decisions. Lily spoke first. "We want to come home." "This is my home," I said. "You made it very clear that you don't think it's yours." Aiden stepped forward. "I'm sorry about what I said, and what I let my friends say. That was messed up." I looked at him. "Why was it messed up?" He struggled for a moment, then said, "Because you take care of us. Like, actually take care of us. Dad just lets us do whatever. But you make sure we eat real food and do our homework and stuff." "Stuff like what?" "Like parent stuff," he said quietly. "Dad doesn't know how to do any of that." Lily was crying now. "I didn't mean what I said about the handyman thing. I was just mad because you always make me clean my room." "And why do I make you clean your room?" I looked at Jennifer. "And you." "I was wrong," she said. "I was so afraid of them being angry with me that I let them be awful to you. I thought if I just stayed neutral, things would work themselves out. But that wasn't fair to you." "What's going to change?" I asked. "Everything," she said. "New rules, real consequences. And if they disrespect you again, there won't be any more chances." I stood there for a moment, looking at this broken little family on my doorstep. Part of me wanted to slam the door and let them figure out their own mess. But another part of me, the part that had spent 4 years investing in these relationships, wanted to believe they could actually change. "One chance," I said finally. "One. You step out of line again, and it's permanent." They all nodded eagerly. "And Chris doesn't get to undermine me anymore. If I hear he's been filling your heads with poison about me or our family, his custody gets reevaluated." Jennifer nodded. "I'll handle Chris." That night at dinner, the house was quieter than it had been in months. Not tense, quiet, respectful. Aiden asked how my day went. Lily helped clear the table without being asked. Small things, but they meant everything. 2 weeks later, I came home from a job to find Lily doing her math homework at the kitchen table without being reminded. Aiden was actually cleaning his room voluntarily. When I asked what brought on this sudden responsibility, Aiden said, "Dad made us realize what we almost lost." "What do you mean?" "He doesn't actually know how to take care of us," Lily said. "Like, at all. We had McDonald's for every meal because he doesn't know how to cook. Our clothes didn't get washed. He forgot to pick me up from school twice." Aiden nodded. "And when we complained about stuff, he just said, 'Deal with it,' or bought us junk to shut us up. He doesn't actually parent." "But you do," Lily added quietly, "even when we're brats about it." A month later, things had settled into a new normal. Not perfect, we still had conflicts and disagreements. But there was respect now. When I set a boundary, it got followed. When I asked for help, I got it. Jennifer and I had some serious conversations about her role in enabling the kids' behavior. She started therapy to work on her conflict avoidance and people-pleasing tendencies. We also did family counseling to establish healthier communication patterns. Chris, surprisingly, became an ally. He realized that undermining me had been hurting his own children, and he started backing up my rules during his custody weekends. He even thanked me once for doing the hard work of actually raising them. But the real victory came 3 months later. I was at Lily's school for a parent-teacher conference, and her teacher mentioned how much Lily talked about me. "She always refers to you as her stepdad," the teacher said. "She talks about the treehouse you built together and how you help her with science projects. She's very proud of you." When I got home, I found a note on my nightstand, in Lily's handwriting. "Thank you for not giving up on us, even when we were terrible. You're the best stepdad ever." Aiden had left a similar note on my workbench in the garage. "I'm sorry it took me so long to appreciate you. Thanks for teaching me how to be a man." My stepchildren said my authority sleeps on the couch, so I tucked them into their rooms at their father's house and slept like a king. Breakfast tasted different. It tasted like self-respect, like boundaries enforced, like love that demanded to be reciprocated. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to accept unacceptable behavior. Sometimes you have to risk losing everything to save what actually matters. So, was I the a-hole for what I did? For demanding respect in my own home? For teaching those kids that actions have consequences? Or was I just a man who finally found his backbone and used it to save his family? Let me know in the comments what you would have done in my situation. And hey, if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button, drop a comment sharing your own blended family experiences, and subscribe to help Reddit visuals grow. Your support means everything to us.